Hey everyone, welcome back to another Persona 5 Next video. In today's video, I'm kind of continuing on of a topic I talked about on stream today. And in that topic, I had a question asking about Summer Closer's weapon and why it's just not good, and like why realistically a lot of weapons from the early game, DPS units. I'm looking at Makoto, I'm looking at Closer, I'm looking at Joker, even Yui's weapon. All these weapons are really not that good, realistically speaking. And then you got some good weapons in the sense of, Chords. Even Marion's weapon's pretty good. Phoebe's weapon's good for the most part for her specifically. But I'm more focusing more on these early game units that are DPS. So, like I said, Makoto and Closer for the most part. Because I think these also including Joker. Because I think these are the three most used DPS characters we probably have available to us, or for the most part. And I want to compare these weapons to some of the later game weapons that we're going to start getting in the future. More specifically, the one I'm looking at the most right now is, I think, the most disgusting weapon they made currently on TW, in my opinion, is Summer Puppets. Summer's Puppets weapon is absolutely disgusting. Like how good it is. Like, just look at the fact that it has a general increased crit damage by 36.3%. So just generally increase your crit damage by that. Increases follow-up crit rate by 16.4%. So crit rate and crit damage naturally just occurring on the weapon. And then when spending SP with a skill, increased damage by 6.8%. So this is a 34% increase permanent of damage, of increased damage. This weapon is absolutely disgusting. And especially when you compare it to her 4-star. And I think this is what we also need to remember, is that we should be comparing the weapon from the 4-star to the 5-star. So her 4-star weapon, for one, just does, like, her 5-star just looks better overall. But then this only gives you increased attack. So all the way from max. Only gives you some attack. And attack, what we need to remember, like, really scales off of only like these attack percentages, scales off of like 2,000 starting attack. So it's not as big as we think it is. So even if, like, let's say we have a 67% increase, let's say 70% increase, that isn't actually that much increase of attack. That's like, what, 1,200 attack, maybe 1,300 attack, as compared to just straight up getting 36% crit damage, 16% crit rate, and 34% damage increase. Like, absolutely disgusting weapon. And then when we compare it to, and then when I actually look at Summer Closer's weapon, when I look at it for the fact it gives you 24% just less damage increase, that's nice. Not the end all be all, as we know. And when Summer Hype is active, increased critical damage by 26%. Nice. Not bad. Let's go. And when using Surf and Shine when Summer Hype is active, increase that skill's damage by 34% and gain 1 Sunlight stack. When using a skill or highlight, spend 1 Sunlight stack to increase the skill's damage by the same amount. But damage increase from Summer Hype and Sunlight will not stack. So when we have all of this come together, it's like every other turn we have a nice hit. But when we actually look at how things happen, especially when we look at how to activate the using Surf and Shine when Summer Hype is active, we can't do back-to-back skill 3s, correct? Because we have a cooldown. We have a 1-turn cooldown. Except for when after we getting 5 stacks of Tropical Heart. That's when we can do back-to-backs, and that's when we give a very nice big hit. Because this is where it has a lot bigger, higher percentages as compared to this. So we're going from 85% of attack all the way to 160, almost double the amount of damage. So it actually doesn't even matter. Like, your double Surf and Stars back-to-back are going to be way better than you going from your skill 3 into skill 1. But it's very hard to get these back-to-backs. And when I actually look at the fact that I can't even benefit from the fact of using Sunshine stacks with my Summer Hype bonus, it's even less good. This is a very restrictive weapon where all the damage increase is from being in Summer Hype. Yes, it is cool that I'm able to increase my Thief highlight and my skill 1 on the same time. But, like I said, your skill 3 just does way more damage, realistically speaking. And like you can see it in my weapon test video. And when I lastly compare it to her 5-star or her 4-star weapon, max rank, increase attack by 24%. And when receiving healing while Summer Hype is active, increase damage by 14.5%, but it's really 29 because it stacks up twice, and it's super easy to get 2 stacks because you get a stack from being healed from blessing, and you get a stack from being healed by anything else. So it's very easy to hit those 2 stacks, and it's always active as compared to this. So it's basically the same as this, and then you also get the 24% attack increase. Again, the attack percent is not that needed. Who cares? I'm gonna be real. Because it's actually not that big. It's only like a 500 increased attack when you have 600, when you have 6k, 7k attack already. While in battle, the 500 doesn't matter, and I'm gonna explain later on why. So yes, overall this weapon is better, but it's not as good as it sounds, is what I'm trying to get across. So when I was doing my weapon testing, I got about between a 5 to a 10% increase. If you can get this weapon within a multi or two, 2, 1, 2, 3 multis, yeah, it's worth it. But if you have to go all the way to pity, I don't think it's worth it anymore. If you have to go double pity, I feel bad. And it's the same thing with Makoto, but it doesn't even have the same caveat as Makoto, where I can say it's a drip pull. No, Summer Closer's weapon is not a drip pull. I and so many other people actually prefer her 4-star weapon, the pufferfish. We actually like it, a lot of us. I know some people do like the look of it, but a lot of people don't. When we look at Makoto's weapon, I'm going to start looking at her 4-star. I know this thing looks absolutely disgusting. But increases attack by 12%, and when dealing nuclear damage, increase damage by 4% for each stack of tenacity, where you can have, I believe, 5 stacks of tenacity, right? So that's a 22% damage increase. Compare her to this. So this right here, we also need to like I said, we should look at Fort 6. So realistically, it's a 40% and a 24% attack increase. So you lose out on a little bit of attack increase right here, only 6%, but you gain a more general increase. I know it scales off of tenacity stacks, but once you have 3 tenacity stacks, you have the same amount. And once you have max stacks, you actually have more. And they're like, oh, but you need to think of the heat stacks. But the heat stacks are only active when you have crash out. When crash out is active. So that's the only time you can use the 60%. And then how you get heat stacks is by having elemental ailments be proc. And then so you need 6 elemental ailments for it. So again, these weapons are highly restrictive to how they work. This weapon is only good when you have skill 3 active. So every other turn it's useless. So when you actually use your summer hype, except for when you're able to use back-to-back surf and shines, it's really not that good. Like it's okay at best. This weapon is only good when you have Crash Out active, and you only activate Crash Out once or twice during a boss fight. If you're looking at a long drawn out fight, then yeah, I will agree. These weapons are not bad. You're going to see a much higher increase. But when we're looking at boss encounter, which is what most people look at, they're not that good. And then finally, I know a lot of people make fun of my Makoto Yuki. So let's look at my Makoto Yuki. My Makoto Yuki doesn't have his 5-star. I am left with his 4-star. I need to max it out. I'm too lazy. So this is just a 24% increase, and when users buff allies, increase all allies damage by 7.2%, and additionally increase users damage dealt by 17.2% for 2 turns. So basically, you can have a permanent 34% increase if you really wanted to. Compared to his I will tell you, his 5-star is really good. It's really good, but I want to tell you, Summer Miyu's is even better. I will die on that hill. You can fight me all you want, but Summer Miyu's weapon to me is the best weapon in the game, bar none. And here is Makoto Yuki's, so 30% increase, so about the same as always. Increases crit rate by 16.3%, and when user gains 3 moon phases or special moon phases for 2 turns, increases damage dealt by 34% when user deals 4 or more hits of damage. So, same amount of damage increase, same attack, so really it's just a 16.3% crit rate. Yes, the crit rate is nice. Why is the crit rate nice? Because now you can start getting away from not having to use crit rate cards. You don't need to use crit rate cards as much. Why do people like A1 Futaba, A1 Anj? Because they give you 12% crit rate. When you include with all these crit rate gains from outside of the cards, you can start forgetting and needing crit rate on your characters. You can now start running crit damage main stat cards, and then get your crit rate from your substats and etc. That's why they're good. But they're not really that much better, like I just showed you. His weapon, like I said, at a max rank, same amount of, again, it is a little restrictive because you have to use a buff, which is his skill 2, not the end of the world. But you're still getting that 34% increase, and you're only losing out on the 6% attack and then the crit rate. So a lot of people make fun of me, but it's actually not as good as we think it is, in my opinion. Of course, you can have your own opinion and disagree with me, blah, 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 whatever. But it's not the end all be all. As compared to some of the later units, like I showed you already, Summer Puppet, and then even looking at Yui, the new Yui that just came out. New Yui is another character, I believe, from what I remember looking, I'm going to have to relook at it again real quick, but her weapons are extremely disgusting. Again, look at her 5-star. Look at her 5-star. Increases crit rate by 18.1%. Okay, we already talked about why crit rate's good. And when summoning Vegetable Knights, increase user's attack by 10.7%, stacks with the 4 times, so 40% increase. But right here, this effect is permanent, and when using Vegetable Knights mobilize, increase crit damage by 32.8%. Again, it's a really good weapon because of the amount of crit rate and crit damage you can get from it. And when most of your damage is coming from, the Vegetable Knight mobilize anyway, and this can do a disgusting amount of damage, you can see why it's really good to use. The only way it could be even better is if it was Summer Miyu and it gave crit instead of giving attack percent. It just gave you straight up crit rate, crit damage, and damage bonus. Because with all that combined, it's disgusting. And then here's her 4-star. Again, this is just more attack percent. When you're looking at weapons that only give attack percent, I think their 5-star versions are just so much better. Because attack percent really isn't that good in this game. Because your attack is based upon not this number, but it's really, if I took off her cards right now, let's go see how much attack she has. And I think it also includes weapon, I believe, as well. So you have to include that 40% attack from this number right here, this 2374. That's what it really is. So when we look at 40% of that number, so 2374 times 0.4, you're looking at a 949 increase. So in the grand scheme of things, most of the time my units have 6k to 7k attack already. So you're looking at a 15% increase of attack. It's not that big. It's nice, but it's not as big as we think it is. And that's kind of why a lot of the times it's just better to make sure, it's just better to use other things. But with that, let me know down below what you guys think of the weapons, everything going on in the game. But this is why a lot of the times I can say you can skip weapons. But I hope you guys have a good day, good night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye for now.